Yeah.
And if I can tell myself something at age 22, I would tell myself not to get in a relationship, because it's damn near like having a part-time job, bro.
Yeah.
You really have to apply a lot of time and effort. Like, you might be doing videos all day and your girl get an attitude when you're doing your last video, like, when you gonna take me out to eat?
Yeah.
When you gonna take me to the movies? When we gonna go on a date? And then it causes relationship problems in your real life that can affect your content. You might get mad, get in an argument. You might not want to film the next day. Might not want to stream the next day. You might not want to go to the studio the next day. Whatever. Like, so I would tell myself, if I was 22, I would say, bro, just grind it out. Let a relationship happen, but only happen when you feel comfortable in yourself as a man. Like, it's best for you to be single in these years of your life so you can really grind. You know, it ain't nobody going nowhere. Bella ain't going nowhere. Where Brooklyn ain't going nowhere. Whatever, you know, whoever you like in this moment. But get your ducks in a row first and grind and not have no restriction. It's real restrictions when you're in a relationship. It's like, definitely. You gotta always consider their feelings. So it's like, you can't really work how you want to work.
Okay, so I had to hop on this one real quick. I've heard a lot of interesting discourse around relationships and marriage. One post sent to me where a sex worker was comparing marriage to sex work. And now we have this particular content creator, I think it was Halle Bailey's ex, comparing relationship to a part-time job. So I'm like, there's a lot of interesting discourse around relationship in general that I do think we really need to unpack. But if you are a young person, or maybe didn't grow up around strong, healthy, long-term relationships, or didn't really see it being modeled to you, I think it can be very common sometimes for people to get into relationships, especially when they're young, and have ideas about what it's supposed to be that are far from reality. Now, I don't know his background. Maybe he grew up in a two-parent household, maybe not. But we know today that the average African American just has not grown up with two people living together in a healthy, stable family that are married and committed. Like, that's just not the experience for most people, right? So I think because of that dynamic, because most people aren't growing up in together intact families, you're having more and more people, more and more generations, and more individuals who, quite frankly, have no real life experience about what relationships are supposed to be. They have ideas that they kind of piece together based upon maybe social media, conversations, romance novels, and all of the influences of the world and all the influences of, of the digital realm. But as far as like that real intangible experience that you would usually glean from your family, from your own overall community, they have no concept. And we're seeing this more and more with a lot of the relationship discourse. Now, I want to bring up this quick article that I saw also, where BET, they kind of break it down. Says DDG said he would advise his younger self to avoid relationships after confirming his breakup with Halle Bailey. Now, again, something that I noticed immediately in his video, he's not in a rush, right? He's like, look, you're young, you're grinding, focus on yourself, build yourself up, build resources. Like, when you're in the place of establishing your career, basically a relationship, it is extra space. And that's true. That is actually very, 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 very true. Relationships, they take up space in your life. And so if you're a young person and you don't want to have to share your life, share yourself, share an aspect of you and compromise, then a relationship is actually going to contradict with that. It just is. Reading on, it says, in a recent episode of No Ordinary Podcast, the Geekin' rapper reflected on his experience and noted that being in a relationship can shift attention and energy that might otherwise be spent on personal and professional growth. That's absolutely true. Like, relationships are actually an investment, which is why I found it so interesting. He said, oh, it's like a part-time job. Because I'm like, I mean, if that's how, if you see relationships as a part-time job, if you equate relationships to work, but like not work that gives you gives you a return, but kind of like that job that you used to have to work when you were a kid that you hated when you were in high school? Maybe you worked at a fast food joint, or you worked at the gas station, or like those jobs that you do just to pay the bills, but you don't really like it. Like the way he described it sounded like it was work he wasn't really trying to do. But the reality is, to make any relationship, especially long-term ones, especially ones that actually have depth to it, there's absolutely work. That didn't just like pop up organically and naturally. It says, if I could tell myself something at 22, I would tell myself not to get into a relationship, because it's basically like having a part-time job. You really have to apply a lot of time and effort. This is not I mean, this must be a young person. Yeah, if you're in a relationship, it's going to require time and effort. I know that's surprising, but maybe this is just showing how young he is and how young they were. They were a very young couple. He continued, like, you might be doing videos all day and your girl get an attitude when you're done doing your last video, like, when you going to take me out to eat? When you going to take me to the movies? When we going to go on a date? And then it causes relationship problems in your real life that can affect your content. He just sounds very young. Like, he already said this in the video, but like, again, reading what he said, like word by word, this sounds like a very young man. It says, according to BET, DDG surprised fans by announcing that he and the Little Mermaid star had ended their relationship less than a year after welcoming their first child together. He took to his Instagram story to write, "Dear friends and supporters, after much reflection and heartfelt conversations, Halle and I have decided to go on our separate ways. The decision was not easy, but we believe it's the best part forward for both of us. I cherish the time we've spent together and the love we shared." A couple of other things to, mention here. It's one thing to get in a relationship, kind of try it out, decide, figure out that you don't want to put work into it and you're done. It's another thing to get into a relationship, decide you don't want to have to put work on it, but then leave with a baby. And unfortunately, as I mentioned before, because a lot of people are coming from broken family experiences, there's not a legacy of long-lasting marriages, long-lasting relationships, a long stable family. There's not a legacy of that. They don't really have a concept of what that means, and they don't really have a concept of actually the blessing of marriage, the blessing of a family structure. Like, they don't understand that, so they'll get into these relationships kind of casually, and then they'll have babies casually. But I'm like, a baby ain't nothing to have casually. Like, it's so wild to me how a person can be very, very non-committal when it comes to dating, but still be willing to make a decision that is completely life-altering, as in having a child, And so, I wished him the best as far as co-parenting. That's where they're at. But again, I'm saying that because notice the mindset, while at the same time now literally being responsible for caring for a young baby that consistently is going to take your time and energy. If you want to be by yourself and focus on yourself and your career, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you take that energy into a relationship and you're still having sex, you're still doing these things and, moving on like a married couple, but not with the mindset of a married couple and not with the commitment of a married couple, if a baby comes, it really does add an extra layer of complication. And I think the whole marry before you carry, people may look at that and be like, oh, that's just old school, whatever. That's just like, y'all are being too this or y'all are being too close-minded. But I think people are kind of forgetting the ramifications behind it, right? Forgetting what happens if you do think you do believe that you fell in love when you're 20, and then when you're 20 and a half, you decided, oops, well, I'm just learning myself and figuring myself out. That was just a fling. But now you have a baby that's going to last you the rest of your life with this person that was just a fling. Like, those are real life serious decisions that people are making in their youth that still impact not only them and that kid. So I think going back to understanding this discourse, these conversations about relationship really are a reflection, I think, of broken concepts around marriage and family that I believe are leaving a lot of people clueless about what it actually means to not only maintain a relationship, but a relationship that leads to a lasting legacy. The 26-year-old concluded, despite the changes in our relationship, our love for each other remains deep and true. We are still best friends and adore each other as we focus on our individual journeys and our roles as co-parents. We cherish the bond we've built and the beautiful moments we've shared. As we navigate this transition, we ask for your understanding and support. Thank you for your love and encouragement. It's a short little piece. It's not as common today to see people, they get together, they have a baby, then they leave, and they have a baby, and now they co-parent. That's seeming to be more the norm. And this is no shade, this is no judgment or shame if anybody finds themselves in that scenario, because I know it does happen. Point is, there is a lot of lack of understanding around relationships, and not just the relationships of dating and mating, but the purpose of a long-term commitment. The value in getting together with somebody and committing to build not only, each other, but really to build something together. And so these relationship conversations, I think more than anything, they speak to a trend of what is going on in the culture, that there is actually incredible value in relationships when both people are committed, and both people are willing to put in the work. There's incredible value in it. It's not just transactional. It's intangible. It's building a legacy that actually is going to help set up your future children and your future children's children for success. But I think because there is so few marriages, and then there's so few marriages that are actually healthy, people by and large, they just don't understand the value in long-term relationships anymore because they just haven't really seen it. But I think when you do get a glimpse of it, and when you have had a chance to experience it or see it for yourself, you recognize that when you're with the right person, it really actually is worth it. And the work is actually worth the outcome. But also, you have to be ready to do that. And you have to be in the right mindset to be willing to build with somebody else. And so for some people, they just need a little time by themselves. And that's okay too. Anyways, those are my thoughts. What do you think? Do you agree or do you disagree? Let me know. Also, be sure to check me out my channel membership, where I do exclusive members only content there, and also Patreon. You can also find other content you just simply won't find anywhere else. Talk later, guys. Bye.